When you say top, you mean up where we all live, parted company up there? Copy that. I'm just trying to and smoke all out, make sure everybody's okay.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops, also by Reconics, Trophy Rock, Eagle Seed, Nikon, Winchester, Dead Downwind, Lacrosse Footwear, Blood Sport Arrows, Flatwood Natives, Morel Targets, Caldwell, Hooks Custom Calls, Montana Decoy, Summit Tree Stands, Drake Non-Typical Clothing, Howes Lubricator, Genesis No-Till Drill, Yamaha, Fourth Arrow, Scent Crusher, Antler Extreme, iScope, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
Recently, our spring intern Jessica, Daniel and I drove down to Northwest Arkansas to visit with Jared Redike. We wanted to help him set up a habitat management and hunting plan for his 700 acres. During that visit, we reviewed some of his trail camera pictures and realized that property had a lot of potential.
And then let's talk about goals and objectives.
We're pretty much all bow hunt,
Okay.
except for the kids.
Yep.
I mean, we're pretty realistic. I mean, I know you're not gonna shoot a booner, so,
Well,
we're looking at 140, 150, but more than that, it's age, that 3.5 up. I mean, you can kind of tell by what we're doing.
Yep.
As we typically do, we spent the first part of his visit talking about his deer management objectives, kind of the resources he could bring to bear, because we don't want to prescribe something that he can't implement on his property.
Ticks kill a lot of fawns in the Ozarks.
And we have a bunch of pictures of just ears that just,
Oh yeah, I've seen bloody eyes and stuff, yeah, on the fawns. So I have found a pretty small company over at Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And what they've done, I don't know how they got it because it's a small company, but they use a very special form of garlic, not just garlic. I mean, it's encapsulated in all this fancy stuff. And it's called Antler Extreme, and I'll give you their phone number. You remind us to get you their phone number. Antler X, just with an X, not E Extreme, but Extreme. Made in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, local guys, and they'll work with you one-on-one. You're not going through a salesman or something like that. And we did some tests last year. We started pretty late in the summer when we started, Daniel. When was it? I don't know.
I think early June.
Yeah. So tick populations were going down just a little bit due to heat like they normally do to kind of cycle, but where we fed that, we tried some other stuff and we didn't see any reduction in ticks at all. When we fed that, those deer definitely cleaned up. You can tell by the slickness of their hair and stuff. They cleaned up.
I'm always excited to get out in the field, so as soon as we touch base on those subjects, we all hopped in a truck and started touring the property.
When I look at timber on my land, and which rarely ever happens, if I break even, I consider that a huge victory. Your land is like my land. This has been high graded, extremely hard.
Yep.
Mine has too, so I'm not knocking your land. So, I mean, they took the best and left the rest.
Oh, yeah.
Same as my place. So. You've been to my place.
Yep.
You know all those humps you went over?
Yep.
Those are called broad-based dips, BBD. You need to Google broad-based dip. And you will end all this water running down the road. And if you're building right the first time, your road maintenance is basically done in your lifetime. And the second thing I want you to teach all your employees and people on the ranch to do is do what he's doing right now. Drive to high spots. Quit driving the 2 tracks. Because those 2 tracks will carry water.
Yep.
And it just ends up in erosion. I like these ridgetop food plots better than the valleys by far.
You can hunt here, use hard.
That's right.
Hunt those.
And the
They're fine for feeding.
same reason all your ponds that hold water are probably on the ridgetops versus valleys. Because up here there's a clay base that will hold moisture, and the valleys are full of gravel. And that's why ponds don't hold down there, and that's why plants oftentimes will even do better up here than in a valley, in the Ozarks, so I'm not talking Kansas, because now you got a clay base that holds nutrients and water from leaching too deep.
Early during the tour, I discovered they had 11.5 acres of food plots on 700 acres of timberland, and all the neighboring properties were timberland. There's no row crop in the area. So it was easy for me to determine that the deer most likely were not expressing their full antler development or fawn production potential because of lack of quality forage.
Hey, we're out consulting today and we're with Jared on his property right on the Missouri-Arkansas line. And they planted a crop of Eagle Seed beans and used a fence to protect them. And guys, I don't know, that's 5 foot tall or so, isn't it, Jared?
It is.
And a great pod crop. They dropped a fence recently and letting deer come in here. Now, they've never had beans like this, so deer here don't know what pods are. It was 13 or 14 degrees this morning, so I'm gonna bet they learned pretty quickly. But this was a great crop of beans on a very rocky ridge top. So a great thing about beans are, they're of course legumes, they fix nitrogen. And the one thing I would have done different, you can see how much sunshine's on the forest floor, but when these were full of leaves, I'm sure there was no sunshine here. So I would have come in and spread broadside or cereal rye or something like that. And that way I had a cover crop during the winter, because what happens in these gravelly soils, the nitrogen and the nutrients that is composed are made when these rot down and disintegrate on the ground will leach out of reach of new plants next spring. It'll get too deep in the gravels. But if you've got a crop growing like broadside or something, we call that mining or recycling nutrients, and those root systems will pick that up, keep it in the top surface, decompose, either you roller chop them or spray them whatever this spring, and now you've got all the nutrients right there for the new seedlings to take and grow. So we want something growing, even in standing beans like this, as many months out of the year as possible to keep those nutrients from leaching too deep in the soil profile.
So, I mean, I watch you guys, your hand spreading them. Will it germinate even with the leaves as thick?
When they're this thick and tall, when it's full of leaves, it'll be pretty late. So I mentioned cereal rye, never ryegrass. Cereal rye, because it will germinate and grow typically somewhere above 30 degrees. Very cold hardy. If I can see my boots, I'm just gonna broadcast because there's plenty of sunshine to grow. If I can't see my boots, then I need a no-till drill and knock some of it down so I get enough sunshine.
You're using the drill to knock the beans down. So if it's too thick.
If they're too thick.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because if you'd had half of these beans here, you'd still had a lot of food,
Right.
but you'd had green growing in here too. You'd had a double attraction and better for the soil health. This is great, but with a little tweaking, it can be a whole lot more productive for you. As I started getting a feel for the lay of the land, I recommended they convert to flat ridge tops, especially those that had marginal timber quality, into food plots. Flat land in the Ozarks is extremely rare, but we seek flat land on ridge tops because the wind is much more predictable on a ridge top than in the valley. Well, we're working on developing a plan for Jared's property still, and Jared, we're in an area that's obviously been high graded or timbered in the past, real common through a lot of the hardwood areas in America, and you can tell they cut the best and left the rest, so almost all the big trees are left are crooked or multi-stemmed or something's wrong with them. But when they did that, they opened up the canopy. It allowed all these saplings to come in. There's literally hundreds and thousands and millions of them in here. And so what they've done now, they're 10, 12 feet tall, and they shade out so there's nothing, no green, no sign of green on the ground anywhere. No food. It's what I call a biological desert. And it's really not covered because the thick stuff is up here. Down where deer or turkey or quail lives, it's wide open. It's a desert. No food, no cover, obviously no water, so not knocking your land, but that real estate's not serving our purpose real well. So what we're gonna prescribe, if we come in here and doze this, these saplings like this are horrible to get out and they just sprout back. Bigger trees you can take care of. We're gonna timber harvest the bigger trees, get what money we can, so we can convert that for food plots. We're going to use herbicide to kill these saplings, much less expensive. And then after a year, they're dried up and done, we can clean it up with the dozer real easy and put a food plot in here and convert this from unproductive land, a biological desert, to very productive areas.
Sounds like a plan.
That plan. And then this is the flat area. On the steeper part, we'll do some of the same stuff, but let the native grasses and forbs come back for bedding areas.
Okay.
We want to create our sanctuaries on the side slopes where the wind's swirling. That's where deer want to bed anyway. And the flat, we call this flat in the Ozarks, folks, top land will be food plots because that's where we can hunt and the wind's more constant and we can be there and the deer be there at the same time. On the side slope, get erosion if we tried to plant, and also the wind swirling, so it's very difficult to hunt. So we're going to take the ridge tops and make food plots. We're going to take some of the sides, not all the sides. We're not dozing all the trees down, but some 10 and 15 acres here and there to make sanctuaries, bedding areas, designed in a specific way where the deer are traveling to our food plots.
Sounds great.
It's easy for me to lay out, a lot of work in 30 minutes. So I'm going to talk for a little bit, and you got a year work ahead of you.
At least.
Yeah.
Remember that deer and turkey prefer cover that's 0 to 3 feet tall. Saplings tend to grow past that stage, become very open down below, and bushy, 6 to 10 feet tall. And that's simply not providing high quality cover for deer or turkey. I recommended that Jared use the Flatwood Native Crew just like we did last summer. They can come in and treat those saplings with the appropriate herbicide that won't damage the land but kill the saplings. Prescribed fire alone simply won't kill saplings that are that mature. That way he can either restore it into native vegetation or have those saplings removed and plant food plots. I prefer the Flatwood Native Crew of the other teams I've used in the past. I was impressed that each person used a GPS to make sure they were staying on track and had great knowledge of the appropriate herbicide. The next step after applying herbicide to the saplings will be prescribed fire. And I told them they need to go get professional training. But as a general guideline, I like to burn on days that have a humidity of 35% or less, a Haynes index, that's a metric of how easily fire spreads, of 4 to 5, and a wind speed of 15 miles an hour or less. I instructed them to be ready because you just don't get many good burn days with those conditions here in the Ozarks.
You might as well sell it so you don't have to burn it.
Yes.
So I would sell out every log out there I could, de-stump the rest of it, and get me some more acres right through here.
We look forward to following up with Jared and sharing the progress with you. Recently, the conditions were good for using prescribed fire here at the Proving Grounds. The first unit we wanted to burn is a lone skinny bedding area, but as you move to the east, it opens up to a much larger area. We had a fire line all the way around the unit. The most important one, of course, was being on the top because fire wants to burn uphill much faster than downhill. So I started by lighting a backing fire along that top line, letting it ease down to give us even additional break, the black area where the fuel is removed, then had Jessica light a head fire along the bottom. As the interns Thomas, Quint, and I worked the fire, Daniel sat on the far ridge in a redneck blind recording it all.
I'm sitting in Boom Redneck, the redneck that Grant shot Handy out of last fall. Handy was actually in the bedding area right across the valley on the other side of the mountain, and we're burning that bedding area today.
Oh, he's going down.
Is he down?
He's down.
He's down.
Just a few days ago, we came in, we cut a line about 10, 20 yards above the tree line, and right now, Grant and the interns are backing that fire down into the glade, and then we'll come in from the bottom and set a head fire. Right here, it's burning, and it's burning up here. We're having trouble right in here because there's no fuel to back down, and we don't want to send a head fire through, catch those cedars, and then it jumped the line or really rip through there. I can actually see him working through those cedars. He's stripping it out a little more, trying to get whatever fuel is in there to burn. That way we're black underneath those cedars. We've got a wind that's going to be pushing that fire up the hill. Haynes index is about 5, so we're expecting it's really going to rip today. So I'm going to sit back and enjoy the view.
I'm just a couple
We used radios to communicate, and I made sure I stayed several hundred yards ahead of Jessica so there was no chance her head fire would get ahead of where I'd set the backing fire and the added protection of a black area. Head fires can be very intense. The heat's rising off that fire uphill faster than the flame, preheating the fuel, removing even more moisture, and allows you to get a very good burn.
Well, that bedding area is black. It was a great start to the day. We got several more fires planned out, and I'm actually going to climb down out of the redneck because the next fire of the day is in the bedding area that I'm in right now.
Once that unit was burned and we made sure there wasn't any flame next to the edge of our fire line, we refueled and made a plan for the second burn of the day.
Well, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We've burnt one glade, about 26 acres. Glades are what we call bedding areas.
a lot of native grass and some saplings we're trying to set back. The group from Flatwood Natives actually helped us and sprayed these glades late last summer, setting back the hardwood saplings. We're hitting with the second punch right now, putting prescribed fire on there. And it's the time of year when we get a rain, this is gonna green up and be awesome cover come fawning and nesting season and high quality forage. This is a little bit smaller and easier burn than it should be. We're gonna start our backfire again. It's all about safety. We're backing out, and then we're circle the glade once we got it black around it and the flame can't go anywhere. While we were setting a backfire, Daniel burned around a redneck blind right in the middle of this area. We simply wanted to remove the fuel next to the blind so tall flames didn't hit it and potentially damage one of my favorite rednecks.
A lot lower intensity fire right here at the redneck site than it would be if we were sending a head fire through. So I'm happy with this. This is just gonna back out. We're gonna get out of here and do the same thing around a few oaks that we wanna save in this bedding area. We got a really big oak and a big sycamore out in the middle of this bedding area. I'm gonna do the same thing to protect them. I'm gonna ring around them. I'm actually gonna light around the uphill side of the tree and let it back down. That way the fire isn't ripping up the hill, chimneying up the back and hurting the tree.
With the ring around the redneck, Daniel gave us the all clear, and Tyler went down one side, Quentin down the other. We go behind the guys lighting to make sure nothing backs across the line anywhere, and it only took 20 or 30 minutes to burn that entire unit.
Just finishing about a 25-acre glade and loving what I'm seeing. Of course, the little saplings were sprayed, but they're all crispy right now, just shattering when you touch them. So I think we got a pretty good kill on the hardwoods. And Miss Tracy's gonna be ready to do some shed hunting here in a day or two. So one more to go, and we've had a great, safe day so far. Tyler's one of our interns this spring from Kansas. And you're familiar with fire in Kansas, Tyler, but it's not this steep, is it?
Oh yeah, it's nothing like this.
Yeah. This is better in the classroom, isn't it?
Way better.
Yeah. Lessons learned.
Our mission that day was to significantly improve the habitat of both these bedding or sanctuary areas, and I believe we accomplished that. Each of these areas have been burned a minimum of 3 times, including a growing season burn. But even with all that, the hardwood saplings were gaining ground. So last summer, I had the Flatwood Natives crew spray them, and then we hit it with the second punch and did a prescribed fire, and we should have a lot of native grass and forbs in both these units this summer. We'll keep you posted as the summer progresses. As you can tell, these are not a once and done project. We've burned in the past, we had flatwood spray, we burned again. Typically, we should be on a 3 to 5 year rotation now. We've had significant improvements in the habitat quality from when we started, and I think it will only continue to improve. We recently had above normal temperatures and a little bit of rain like much of the central U.S., and our eagle seed clover is really starting to jump. Even though it's still February, I've noticed a big difference between inside and outside this utilization cage in this clover plot. During these conditions, when 4-H is growing rapidly, it's often 60, 70, or even 90% water. Most mammals, including deer, have got to have a lot of sodium and other minerals for the kidney to function properly and get this excess water out of their system. We moved over towards the edge of the plot, and you can tell I've got a trophy rock station. Had a little rain last night and this morning, and there's fresh sign around the trophy rock. This time of year, deer are going to minerals, whether it's a naturally occurring mineral lick, an old cattle block out in the pasture, or a trophy rock station. We can't keep them from it. It's part of their physiology to get the excess water from the 4-H out of their body this time of year. There's huge advantages to having a trophy rock station. It's all natural, mined in Utah, and there's more than 60 different trace minerals in there. Deer need these minerals for things like their body function, getting the excess water out, producing healthy fawns, and growing larger antlers. I keep it out year-round, but the most important time is this time of year and during the growing season when there's the most moisture in the 4-H. Some folks probably make a mistake of doing the home blend and trying to jam a whole bunch of calcium into their blend, like calcium diphosphate or something like that, thinking that's really going to help grow bigger antlers. But we've got decades of folks trying that and not a lot of success. The reason is deer are craving the salt and other trace minerals. I call it the low hoe in the bucket, but the official name is Lee Biggs' Law of the Minimum. And basically what it means is if this is your bucket and you've got a hole here and a hole here, water's gonna drain out at the lowest hole. So no matter how much calcium you pour in, if they're needing magnesium or sulfur or something like that, their body can't express any more potential than that lowest missing element, or the low hoe in the bucket. We've been using trophy rock for years, and this year, of course, we're shed hunting. We found 40+ sheds already, and I've been noticing by age class, comparing yearlings to yearlings, 3-year-olds to 3-year-olds, whatever, that it's trending larger this year as it did last year and the year before. We keep making small but noticeable increases in antler size. And that's due to our food plot programs and all the native vegetation management, everything we do in our management plan, and that includes keeping trophy rock out year-round. Hey, if you want to have some serious conversations about deer management, Daniel will be speaking at the Bucks, Beards, and Bass Expo in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, March 3rd and 4th. And my friend James will be there blowing his turkey calls and owl hooter, and you can get some special tips from him. Hey, if you live in one of the northeastern states and want to talk deer management, you're in luck, because Daniel will be speaking at Oakland, Maryland at the Tri-County Co-op meeting March 18th. There's only 250 seats and most of them are already sold out. So call those guys today, go visit with Daniel, and get ready for the best deer season you've had so far. Hey, whether you're still wading in snow, like our field staffer Dylan Shaw that just sent me some pictures of deer scratching through the snow to get these trophy rocks, or it's warmer than normal like it is here at the Proving Grounds, go outside and enjoy creation. But most importantly, take time each day to slow down and listen to what the Creator says to you. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.